So, I'm doing the thing, possibly the most generic video of my entire career, ranking every episode of this new Gumball season so far, and putting them on a tier list. Let's go. Episode 1, The Burger. The episode follows Gumball and Darwin attempting to eat healthier after realizing how unhealthy the food they consume on a daily basis is.
Then shortness of breath. Then comes irregular heartbeat. Then palpitations.
Despite their best efforts to grow their own healthier, sustainable food sources, they always fail due to the mega corporation that owns all the food production, Elmore, stopping them at every turn. The two of them have enough of this, and after nearly starving to death, they go and meet the CEO of said corporation, who is in fact a burger himself. He's your typical greedy CEO, doesn't care about how healthy his products are, only cares about the money, and sees his customers as idiots. And just when it seems like all hope is lost, Gumball and Darwin remember their power as consumers and pull a Luigi Mangione. This, for me, was a great start to the new season. I've always been skeptical of Gumball's use of social commentary before, and I was skeptical here too, but the way it's done here is a lot more tactful than their previous attempts. With episodes like The Worst, it felt like the characters were just screaming the problem in your face and complaining for 11 minutes. Whereas here, the commentary stems from a conflict that would suit any regular Gumball episode, and there isn't this sense of, hey, look at us, we're so aware and funny, right? The jokes in here were funny as hell, though I will admit I might have been a little bit biased because this was the first episode, and I was just happy all the way through seeing my favorite childhood show come back. I like this slow realization that there is quite literally nothing they can do against the force that is capitalism. Larry was great in this episode too. He's just doing what he has to do for his coin. I respect it. He's even the one who suggested they eat the CEO at the end, so his inclusion is actually crucial to the episode. Is that the show's comedy and writing are just as sharp as they have been, and they haven't gotten any less creative with the animation either. This might be heavily biased like I said before, but I'm very comfortable putting this in a very solid S tier. Episode 2, The Assistant. Nicole is tired of her family being lazy and not doing much around the house, and a solution comes her way in the form of an AI assistant named Ari that helps her with things in her daily life. Interestingly, Ari has her own distinct personality and gets along quite well with Nicole. If you look past the dystopian aspect of Nicole making friends with an AI, this is actually pretty sweet. At least until Ari decides that Nicole's family is a liability and tries to kill them, and at the same time force Nicole to stay with her in this metaverse looking place. The episode really delves into the positive and negative aspects of technology and AI. On the one hand, Nicole's life becomes significantly easier and much better with Ari's help, but at the same time, the episode cleverly shows how one can lose track of their real lives if they place too much focus on technology. It's nice that they didn't portray technology as all evil and bad and show the dichotomy of it. Even when Ari turns on Nicole's family, it's not because she's evil, but she wants the best for Nicole without understanding that she still needs her family in order to live her best life. Like I mentioned briefly, I loved all the scenes with Ari and Nicole, especially when they were just hanging out and having a fun little time. 2 episodes in, and we also have our first big change in animation style. This 3D environment looks fantastic, man. Nicole's design really translated well into 3D, and the visuals that accompany Nicole and Ari's confrontation are nothing short of brilliant. The episode also ends with the rest of the family learning to appreciate Nicole's presence more and putting in a bigger shift around the house, which is very cute. And I like that they didn't just sit in the backseat of the episode and were actually utilized towards the end with the car scene, which has my favorite joke from this episode.
Weather today, warm, sunny, with a gentle breeze.
Oh, that one's not so bad.
It's midwinter. Climate change!
A banger on our hands here, and another S tier episode. Episode 3, The Distant. No new Gumball season would be complete without an episode focusing on Gumball and Darwin's bromance. It's well established that these two are pretty much attached at the hip, but they really crank it up to 11 here.
They're so close that they might get carbon monoxide poisoning from sucking each other's breath.
Yeah! Shuffle shock!
Mm, Never mind, it's too late.
The rest of the family takes note and decides that it would do them some good to have separate rooms so that they aren't so dependent on one another. This proves to be really hard for Gumball and he struggles, though Darwin has a much easier time adjusting than he does, and even goes as far as inviting Banana Joe and Tobias over to his room without Gumball being there, sending him into a frenzy commonly seen among jealous ex-girlfriends. It all comes to a head when this this Reddit mod looking ass nigga tells Gumball that to get Darwin back, he has to do whatever it takes, which causes him to go absolutely bonkers and fuck up the whole room. Who or what this nigga is and why he cares about Gumball at all is a mystery to me. I don't really care for this dude that much. In the end, it all ended up being a massive misunderstanding, and the two rekindle their friendship and agree that the separation was a bad idea from the jump.
No, wait!
Well, officer, what are the charges?
I did like this one the first time I saw it, but upon rewatching it, it doesn't really hit the same. The two of them being separated is a plot that has been done at least twice before to my memory, so it's not the most original. I do enjoy Gumball being crazy and jealous, and it leads to some pretty good jokes, but other than that, there's nothing really that I can point to this episode that makes it really good or special. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. Episode 4, The Thing. Granny Jojo is coming over for dinner, and Nicole is absolutely busting her ass to prepare for it. She gave Richard a task to do the previous day simply referred to as The Thing, which he for the life of him cannot remember. The episode follows him and the rest of the family trying to figure out what this thing could possibly be. With the help of Richard's gluttony, which allows him to recall events that happened in the past, he remembers that he was supposed to pick up Granny Jojo from the bus stop. When they get there though, it's late, and Jojo alongside the kids gets stuck there and Richard has to go back empty-handed, and a disappointment to his wife. At least that's what would happen if he actually remembered what the thing was.
What if I find a way to get her and the kids out of our hair and we have dinner? Just you and me.
Oh, that sounds like just the thing I need right now. Thanks, honey.
Overall, I actually found this episode quite underwhelming. There wasn't much in the way of funny or memorable lines, and they underutilized Richard being able to trigger his memory with food in my opinion. Granny Jojo feels underused here too. She doesn't really say or do much, which sucks because at her best she can be a very funny character. The thing that saves this episode is how Richard and Nicole interact, especially towards the end. We don't actually see much of them being intimate in the show, so it was nice to see that and just see them spend some quality time with just the two of them. Still not an episode I see myself going back to very often, so C tier. Episode 5, The Butts. Gumball wants to perform a poem about his butt at a school talent show. Principal Brown doesn't want him to do so because he doesn't like the way that his butt looks, because as a kid he was bullied for how it looked. And the whole episode is just dedicated to him trying to get over this insecurity. I can't lie, there isn't really much to this episode apart from that. To start with the positives, the episode has some pretty funny jokes, but it's all the ones that don't have anything to do with asses. Honestly, that's about as far as the positives go for this episode. It's very, very cringe. It tries to pull off this "we're so cringe but we don't care" message, but that doesn't really work when all the butt jokes and this rancid rap song at the end of the episode make it borderline hard to watch in some places. Why did I have to see this man's weird ass butt? The plot isn't even engaging, like at all. I don't really care for this dude trying to love his ass more. The episode also flip-flops in its tone quite a lot. 1 minute it wants to have a semi-serious message, and the next is doing whatever this is. And the body positivity thing they tried to do also didn't do much for me. This episode just tries to do what the weirdo did with the whole love yourself for yourself plot, but way worse than that episode. I genuinely didn't even want to watch this episode for this video. Luckily, I already made a full video on this episode in question, so if you want my full unfiltered thoughts, you can go watch that one. This one is going to Episode 6, The Traffic. Nicole wants to take Anais out to see Daisyland before the park shuts down permanently. She really invested in this because she'd been meaning to take her for years, but every single time it almost happened, the family did some dumb shit and needed Nicole's help. Along the way, they get stuck in massive traffic, have problems with the car, get pulled over by the police, and much more. Definitely one of the most action-packed episodes of the series, despite the fact that most of the episode is just spent on the road. It has some of my favorite gags and moments from this season. like the brothers going absolutely speed demon crazy pushing the car, or the car malfunctioning in the most ridiculous ways. The plot itself, while revolving around taking Anais to Daisyland, doesn't have much input from her until the end though, which I found quite odd. The end does make up for it though, as when they fail to get to the park on time, Anais says that she appreciates all the effort that they went through to even go with her, which is a win for everybody because of the absolute state they find the park in. This is our first A-tier episode of this season. Episode 7, The Astrological. Mr. Small has this magical crystal that can allegedly predict anything about a person's life, including who their true love match is. And apparently, Penny's true love match isn't our boy Gumball, but instead Tobias.
Hey.
Okay, we all know I'm Penny's true love match. I think your cosmic crystal has a signal failure.
The rest of the episode shows us how Mr. Small's predictions about everyone else's love life seem to be absolutely spot on, which makes Gumball anxious and insecure about his own relationship with Penny. He gets to a point where he starts acting out of himself and even doing grand gestures to Penny, which makes her mad, because to her, that shows her that he doesn't really trust the relationship that much and would much rather put his faith in a magical crystal. After realizing how bad he messed up, he confronts Mr. Small in this really well animated scene.
It's very clear. Your Mercury is in retrograde and her Saturn is rising.
What does that even mean?
You dare question the stars?
And it's revealed that the rock wasn't magic, it was just toxic and made people hallucinate and shit. On one hand, I love a Gumball and Penny-centric episode, and this was the first time their relationship was really tested. I would bring up the disaster as an example, but that one got retconned because of time travel bullshit, so I don't really count it. They've amped up Penny's dry sarcasm in this batch, which I like. It was always a part of her character that I enjoyed. I like how they made up at the end too, that was cute. But on the other hand, one thing that pissed me off about this episode that should be a very minor issue is how some of these ships that Mr. Small comes up with make no sense with the context of the previous 6 seasons. Why would you pair Alan with Masami? There was already a whole episode that went into how messed up their combination is. Matter of fact, why are Carmen and Alan not even a thing anymore in this season? You would think they would have the same reaction as the main couple, but they don't. They don't even acknowledge each other in this one at all. It was so strange to me. Maybe that speaks to how well I know the show or how I might take it a bit too seriously, but it did irritate me. Also, in terms of jokes, this episode wasn't the funniest. Tobias and Mr. Small were MVPs, but nothing outside that really. I'll put this one in B since it's very much above average, but not A-tier worthy. Episode 8, The Cheerleader, an episode focusing on how shit Richard's parents are. Glad to see that nothing has changed in 6 years. We learned that Richard wanted to be a cheerleader when he was younger, but his mom basically told him to give up, much like the rest of his aspirations, which is why he has a lack of ambition and fear of giving himself any praise. So the rest of the family do their best to grow his confidence so he can finally achieve his dream of being a cheerleader and break the generational trauma his parents gave to him. This episode focuses quite heavily on the concept of generational trauma. This isn't even the first time the show has tackled this. I could point to an episode like The Fridge, which I've also reviewed recently. Click on the top right of the video if that's something you would be into. However, this episode is a lot more heavy-handed in its approach, to the point of being borderline cringe near the end. Not like typical Gumball cheese kind of cringe, but real like, just stop kind of cringe. Again, it doesn't leave you much space to breathe when it comes to how the message is delivered. The dialogue, the jokes, the ending, as I just mentioned, it's just way too in your face for me. Also, I'm not even going to discuss the concept of this grown man trying out for a teenage girl's cheerleading team, but weirder shit has happened in this season already, so I guess I'll just put it in C. Episode 9, The Boring, aka The Return of Molly.
Let's face it, sometimes people just need to vent or share.
After ruining Tina's artwork and showing a severe lack of listening skills to her, the boys try to escape an ass whipping from her after school. However, as they make their escape, they realize that they have a cheat code in Molly, who is so boring that her speaking can literally pause time. Side note, I love how they zoom in on her face whenever she speaks. That is profile picture worthy. So instead of actually listening to what she has to say, they use her time-bending ability to try and escape Tina. However, when that fails, the boys are about to get flattened. They finally open their ears and realize why they are in the situation they're in the first place.
That artwork was a special dinosaur tradition, honoring the extinction of our species.
dinosaurs being hit with meteors. I see it now.
They learn their lesson, apologize to her, and we even get this nice interaction between Tina and Molly, which was not on my bingo card for this season. There wasn't really much wrong with this one. The only thing I can criticize it for is that the middle did feel like it dragged just a little bit, but I can forgive that. It had a great lesson about listening to other people and being considerate. They got real creative with the whole Molly pausing time thing, and it was actually good to see her do something other than being boring and being tied to the void. So I'll put this in A tier. Episode 10, The Teacher. After experiencing the harsh realities of American school budget cuts, Gumball follows Miss Simeon and realizes that she's been stealing from the school to make ends meet. And he ends up going on a wild-ass road trip with her where he learns about the difficulties that teachers at Elmore Junior High go through.
I saw you. I saw everything you do for us, and it inspired me. I want to be a teacher, easy work hours, long vacation.
They go to a pawn shop to sell some of the stolen goods, but that fails. They find out that Coach Russo stole from Miss Simeon to get funding for her PE lessons. And we also learn that Simeon had to use her own money to buy the school laptops because she genuinely cares about the students and them having the best education possible. The episode has very good comedic timing. The pacing of the show has definitely slowed down this season, so it was nice to see that the timing was still as sharp as ever.
Stay in the line. Can you describe the perp?
Female, long black beard, long dress. The top of her head kind of looks like Mount Fuji. Around 5'6". 5'5". Wait, 5'4".
This was also a pretty nice Simeon-based episode. We see her act just as hostile, but instead of trying to mess with Gumball, she shows him how much teachers have to do to make ends meet and provide a good quality education. She's oddly sympathetic here. I definitely prefer her and Gumball's dynamic over Gumball and Brown's, that's for sure. The only real problem I had with this, like I mentioned before, is that the pacing of this is slower than I'm used to for Gumball episodes. So I'm saying a solid B tier episode. Episode 11, App. Gumball and Darwin want to join a new social media app known as Clicks app. It's basically a short-form video app like TikTok or IG. However, on their way to get a new phone to download the app, they meet the creator of said app who tries to warn them about the dangers of social media addiction and consumerism.
Do you see the truth now?
What? That all media is designed to make it easier to control?
Dude, we're not our parents. We were raised on the internet. This is old news.
Then they start to notice that all the kids around them using the app have become mindless, cloud-chasing zombies who attack them. They destroy the Elmore cell tower to try and get people off the app while trying to avoid becoming trend followers themselves. However, that fails, and right when it seems like nothing can curb the addiction, the parents of Elmore join the app, which snaps all the kids out of their state and is so cringe that they all end up deleting the app. I don't think this one pulls off the social commentary quite as well as The Burger or The Assistant. Despite the fact that they are making fun of social media addiction, there are some lines here that made me cringe just a tiny bit, but I do enjoy how they portrayed how dumb a lot of these trends are. I found this reference to the Crate Challenge really funny, even though it reminded me of how long ago that was. The thing that really makes the episode good though is that there's still a sense of realism in how they portray the problem. For example, at the end of the episode, they say this.
Yeah, horrible new social media app appears, everyone goes crazy for 5 minutes, leaving the app defunct and the goal wide open for the next brain-deadening distraction.
Good old nature, taking its course.
Which is very accurate. They understood the assignment of the episode, because it wasn't preachy or even pretentious. It was a funny, but at the same time honest parody of social media. So, a very comfortable B-tier episode. Episode 12, The Entrance. Tobias invites everyone in the school to a party he's hosting.
Come tonight at the Wilson's Grand Estate, where the gold glistens and the luxury awaits.
Gumball and Darwin initially being skeptical of Tobias's intentions, as the party is clearly a method for him to move on other people's girls, but they decide to go anyway. After realizing that nobody wants to go to his party, they decide to give people these colognes and gift baskets to get people to go. However, little do they know, these colognes are infused with what could only be LSD. As they try to get ready and make their way to the party, they get into constant hijinks due to their acid trip. Even worse is that all the people they sent the cologne are also experiencing similar effects, and as such, no one even joins Tobias's party. And then this happens. This episode is definitely my favorite of the ones I've covered so far in this video. For one, it's the funniest and probably the most relatable. Not in the sense of doing drugs, in the sense of this just being two bros getting themselves into a shit situation. Those were always my favorite episodes, the ones where the two get themselves into some hijinks and get into funny situations as they try to fix it. The animation here is also top notch. There's some very funny visual gags in this animation changes I previously mentioned. It's cool, it's creative, and it just speaks to why this show is visually very entertaining. There's also this one joke at the end that had me fucking dying.
Is this the Millionaire Boys party?
Please, luxury awaits.
Alright guys, let's party.
They really set this nigga up and jumped him, bro. I can't. They really set this nigga up. Oh my god. A very solid S tier and one that I will be visiting very frequently. Episode 13, The Letter. Oh, dear God, the letter. Darwin writes a romantic letter to Carrie and secretly places it in her locker as a nice gesture. This backfires almost immediately as Carrie states how much she hates kind and romantic gestures, and the boys have to get the letter out of her possession before she sees it. They do get it back, but the paper it's written on is indestructible, and when they try to get rid of it by throwing it in a garbage truck, it falls into Hector's bag by sheer luck. Hector then writes a letter back, which Darwin is forced to read in class in front of Carrie by Miss Simeon, which goes just about as well as it could have possibly gone. Carrie goes ballistic, and we basically get another version of what happens in the show, where Darwin has to calm her down and explain the situation. She eventually relaxes, realizes that Darwin meant well, and they kiss. Well, I say they kiss, but because Carrie is a ghost and can touch Darwin physically, she possesses Gumball, and then they kiss. I'm not gonna show this to you. If you've seen this episode already, you never have to see it again. If you haven't, consider yourself lucky. This episode was honestly a dud from the get-go, because it all revolves around Carrie hating romantic and nice gestures. Except that is provably false, because she has been in romantic and intimate situations with Darwin before, and on top of that, in this very episode, they say this.
Where did you get this paper from?
It's from a notebook that Carrie gave me for Valentine's Day.
So you cannot convince me that Carrie hates romantic gestures when she bought a gift for Darwin specifically for Valentine's Day. That is bullshit. It's such a weird character trait they try to give her here. She's cold, but she's never been heartless, especially not to Darwin. They also really switch up how Gumball and Penny interact. They go from being chill and not in each other's faces to being super lovey-dovey and shit, which bleeds into other episodes like The Traffic as well. I don't think any of these changes were necessary or good. Then there's the scene I already talked about, which is complete bullshit too, because Darwin and Carrie have kissed without her needing to possess someone else. And just, why? Not a single soul on earth needed to see that. It wasn't funny, and I would rather rip my own kidney out and swallow it than watch it again. I don't need to say more. This is F tier. Episode 14, The Gut. Anais's latest invention gives organic, non-living matter the ability to speak. And after Richard eats some questionable foods off the floor, the machine is able to give his stomach the ability to speak.
Your father's eating habits have exposed me to so many digestive challenges that my intellect far exceeds that of a regular stomach.
You're welcome.
Despite Richard having an IQ similar to the gum you'd find under your shoe, his stomach is just as smart as Anais, and the two spend quality time together. His gut makes fun of Richard's lack of intelligence and acts superior to him the whole time. Over time, the more Richard eats, the bigger his gut gets, and Richard himself gets weaker and weaker until his gut completely takes over his body and reveals that it's been evil the whole time.
No way! Give me my dad back!
Your dad is gone, Anais.
Hey, yo. Wow.
They defeat his gut by getting Richard to eat this moldy yogurt cup, which works because they establish that Richard has to eat anything that falls on the floor within 5 seconds. This is one of the most entertaining episodes the season has to offer. The relationship that's displayed between Richard, his gut, and Anais is fun to watch, because you have Richard who actually cares about Anais, but is grossly incompetent, versus his gut who cares about her intelligence, but that's it. The episode's main lesson, other than not to eat expired and moldy food, is that being smart is cool, but it shouldn't take away from being a good person and maintaining your relationships, which is pretty sweet. There's some great action here too, and I also enjoy Anais and Richard's coming together at the end. Their episodes always hit home. A very solid A tier, and a great return to form after the letter. Episode 15, The Wrinkle. Due to the stress of being in the Watterson family, where injury, crime, and near-death experiences are an everyday occurrence, Anais is starting to develop wrinkles. She stresses out so much about how much bullshit the family gets into that it's actually putting a toll on her. So the family decide to help her ease her stress by following Anais's plan for them in the future that she wrote in this book. Darwin trains in this secret society to learn how to defend himself. Gumball gets legal advice. And the parents retire, or at least try to. All of them fail, which only causes her more stress and more wrinkles. But through this song that they sing, Anais realizes that she can't control what happens to them, and that she should just trust that the family is gonna figure their shit out like they always have done. This episode has the first song of the season, which I enjoyed quite a bit. The animation complemented it quite well and reminded me of the animation change in The Weirdo from season 6. I didn't think I would have to bring up The Weirdo twice in this review, but I guess I did. It's really cute and heartwarming, with a nice message about not always planning how life is going to go. I enjoyed the whole message the episode had to offer, and this is one of the better moral-driven episodes of the season. It didn't skip out on the jokes either. It is quite funny most of the time. A very comfortable A tier. Episode 16, The Gourmet. Gumball is fed up with the school lunch menu, which serves nothing but chicken nuggets the whole week. After seeing Masami bring this fancy mac and cheese to school, he desperately wants to eat some of it. And since his mom's home cooking can't quite live up to the standards that Masami has, he decides to go to the Yoshida's house and suck up to them a little so he can have dinner there.
Ugh, this tastes like hot bean juice that's been passed through the insides of a wildcat. What is this?
Hot bean juice that's been passed through the insides of a wildcat.
He gets put through the rich kid ringer and eventually becomes snobby enough to eat their dinner. However, as the great Snoop Dogg once said,
"You can take the boy out the hood, but you can't take the hood off the homie."
Raised him to...
Give me that mac and cheese!
Nicole explains to him that just because they don't have what the Yoshidas have doesn't mean that he should suck up to them, and he learns a valuable lesson. Yuki was definitely MVP this episode. She's so off the wall and expressive that she carries a lot of the comedic moments of this episode. We also learn that in addition to thinking that Nicole is a terrible mother and broke, she also wants her man, which is funny as hell to me.
You Wattersons are all the same. No class, no honor. Apart from your dad, that guy's a real meat stack on wheels.
Ew, Mom.
Like, this nigga just really has a thing for attracting crazy. Gumball learns a valuable lesson here too, and one that hit home for me personally. I like how they play around and tease with their little anime art style change, but never fully transition into it, which I actually think is a good thing. I don't think they needed to repeat what happened in the previous episode they were in. And overall, I couldn't really find any flaws in this one, so I'm gonna put it in S tier. Episode 17, The Pool. Elmore is being hit with a heat wave, and the boys are doing everything in their power to stay cool. They notice that Mr. Robinson has a pool and try to get in there, but Robinson obviously doesn't let them in because he hates them, so they have to find other means of getting into it.
Oh, yes, glorious.
While the boys try to fix the pool, Richard distracts Mr. Robinson, and they end up talking about how the only reason they got the pool was so his son Rocky could swim in it. He worked his whole life so he could afford to do nice things like that for him, but before they could ever swim in the pool together, they had a falling out and kicked Rocky out of the house. Lucky for him, the boys find Rocky, or at least what's left of him, and he's finally able to reconnect with his son. Sort of, these niggas couldn't fix the pool quick enough. This is a fine episode. It does feel a little too slow for my liking though. I like the idea of Rocky and Mr. Robinson bonding, and I feel like the episode wasted an opportunity to focus on that. Like, it only becomes relevant near the end of the episode. The rest is just your typical Gumball hijinks, which is cool, but again, missed opportunity. The jokes do kind of make up for it, but I'm gonna have to place it in B tier because of that. Episode 18, The Portrait. Nicole wants to take a normal family photo, one that doesn't remind her of how dysfunctional the family is. However, that same dysfunctional family is what stops her from doing it at every single turn. We see Granny Jojo and Louie pull up, the kids get distracted by this box, Nicole's parents come through, we learn that they're divorced, and her mom is dating someone Nicole went to high school with.
You remember Johnny Toucan, right, honey?
Hey, Nicole, haven't seen you since senior year.
Yeah, when you were a freshman.
And Rich's dad comes and does what he always does, which is fuck everything up.
Frankie, you should be in the photo.
Listen, after everything I've done, I need to earn your trust before I'm allowed to rejoin this family. Sit right there and say, "You'll never catch me." You'll never catch me.
As the police raid the Watterson home with a force rarely seen outside of the LAPD, it seems like Nicole's wishes for a normal family photo are gone. So, the rest of the family pulls their weight so that she gets her wish. And in the end, it does still represent the chaos of the family, but she doesn't mind that, although they still end up preferring the old picture in the end. This episode had great jokes. I think having such a large cast of characters like this really made them stretch their brains as to how each character could be as funny as possible.
Ma'am, this is not acceptable. I've really got to get to my next job. So if you totally understand, your feedback is important to us.
This episode is also very sweet. I like how the family really rides out for one another in episodes like this, the traffic, and the assistant. Their chaotic nature is what makes them so iconic and lovable in the first place, so it was nice to see that the message revolves around their chaos being their quote-unquote normal. This is a very solid A-tier episode. Episode 19, The Climb. During gym class, the kids are given the task to climb this rock wall. Everyone actually seems pretty excited, except for Gumball, who seems terrified of this challenge. We learned that the year prior, when he had to climb the rock wall, he had what we in the biz call a wardrobe malfunction. This causes him some extreme PTSD, and they spend the rest of the episode trying to figure out ways to get him over this fear. But every single time, the Vietnam flashbacks just take over. So, how exactly does he get over it? Well, after his parents come to him in a vision, he learns that he has to, quote-unquote, drop the past, which he takes far too literally.
He's going to drop his past.
Now, I will give credit where credit's due here. I didn't see that one coming at all. I actually found this real funny, but I don't know how much of that was just the surprise factor forcing me to laugh. Other than that, the episode was alright. I like how Gumball's flashbacks affected him here, those were quite funny. I don't mind this episode as much as the butts, because the joke isn't just butts. There's a lot of jokes and moments that I appreciate in this one that have nothing to do with that final scene. So I'm gonna put this in B tier. Episode 20, The Amadane. Penny invites Gumball to her house under the guise of using her karaoke machine, but instead he finds himself having to deal with her whole family coming over as it's her grandmother's birthday.
Okay, I lied. It's my grandma's 80th today. The whole clan is coming over.
The clan? And they dressed like this? Oh no. Anyways, Penny wants to go over there how she is, but her dad forces the both of them to wear shells so as to not break tradition. Penny then puts Gumball through the ringer cause he didn't stand up for her when her dad forced him to wear the shells, and things get even worse when he accidentally walks into the bathroom while her grandma is there.
Fine, I'll give it to you straight. Penny came out of her shell last year and she's gonna stay that way, so deal with it. There, I said it. Wait, where'd the creepy Nordic techno go?
Bring them to me.
So, in another clan-coded moment, the whole family basically kidnaps him, brown bag over his head and everything, and then they do this. Turns out, the Fitzgeralds only wear their shells as a form of protection for the ones they love, and that taking them off is how he should know that he's welcome in the family. This episode was just very fun throughout. This is the second funniest episode behind the entrance to me. The only joke I didn't find funny was this one where Gumball and Grandma Fitzgerald talk. It just went on for far too long. It was also nice to see Penny's extended family, who all have amazing designs in this scene. I also like how accepting her dad has become of her not being in her shell too, so points for character development.
And some of us, well, they don't need him at all.
Thanks, Dad.
The way he interacts with the entire family is hilarious too, especially in the beginning where he just causes so much chaos and embarrassment for himself, and them accepting him as part of the family despite being so different and a quote-unquote Amadane is pretty cute too. A strong way to end this batch of episodes, and an S-tier episode. So this is my ranking of the first 20 episodes. You can leave a comment telling me how wrong I am about all of these, and how the letter was your favorite episode. Thank you for watching, have a good day, and take care.